guys, and welcome back to Claire's Clues. On today's video, I'd like to talk to you about the book The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort. Now, although this book mainly focuses on how to close prospects and deals in the sales world, it also teaches you how to become a great persuader and bring success into many other areas of your life. Now, what Jordan has actually managed to do is create something that he calls the straight line selling system. And the awesome thing about this is that you don't have to be in sales in order to benefit from it. Because what you might notice is that you're already in a position at some point in time in your life where you're going to have to influence or persuade people around you. Now, whether you're a parent trying to convince your kids to clean up their toys or eat their vegetables, or maybe you're just trying to convince a friend to watch a certain movie over the weekend with you, you'll need some degree of persuasion and influence in order to convince them that what you want is also what they want. So you might be wondering at this point in time, well, what is the straight line selling system? And it's a great question. And the simplest way I can put it for you is that it is goal-orientated communication. So on one hand, you have the goal of which you're trying to achieve. And on the other, you have the person of which you're trying to convince into that goal. Now, the shortest distance between the initial goal and the end result is a straight line. Hence the name, the straight line selling system. Now, what you want to do as the person trying to do the persuading is that you want to keep your prospect engaged, making sure that they're not wandering off or they're not going on a tangent. While at the same time, you want to keep them moving along the line and making sure that you're getting towards a desired end result. Alright, so there's 5 key elements to all of this. And the first one is called the 3 10s. Now, this represents the prospect's certainty on a scale of 1 to 10. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, do they believe that what you're trying to convince them of is worth their while? Or is it in their best interest? Alright, so there's 2 types of certainty. And what we find is the first one is emotional and the second one is logical. Now, you'll have to make an airtight, logical case about your viewpoint or your product, while at the same time also appealing to the emotional connection and gut feelings that your prospect has. So what you'll find is that most people will have, they will usually buy with emotion and then they'll justify it later on with logic. All right, now our second key element or our core element here is you. Now, you must be able to convince your prospect that they can trust you or they can believe in you. Because what you'll find is that if you come across too strong or if you come across uncertain, your prospect will tend to notice something is off and they probably will lose trust in you. Now, this ties into our third key element, which is trust. They must feel as if they can trust you or the company that you work for. Because without that foundation of trust or that feeling of it, they really won't be too interested in what it is that you have to say after the fact. Now, our fourth key element here is what is called an action threshold. Now, this is where you'll probably have to ask for the sale 2 or 3 times before convincing them that it's right. Now, what you'll find is that in some people, they might have a lower action threshold. And this means that after the first or second time of asking, you'll find that they probably might just say yes. Now, this is either to stop you from talking or because they genuinely agree with you. Now, our fifth and final key element here is it's called a pain threshold. Now, pain is one of the most powerful motivators of all time, and people will do anything to avoid it, or anything that might solve one of their current ones. See, pain creates urgency, and it makes for the perfect vehicle for closing those harder sales. You see, with all that in mind, at the end of the day, your goal is to increase your prospect's certainty about your product, about yourself, and about your company, while lowering their action threshold and raising their pain threshold. But with all that said, all this could fail if you don't take control of the sale, and you've got about 4 seconds of which to do that in. You see, in the first 4 seconds, this is where your prospect will make the initial decision or judgment on you. And you've got 4 seconds to establish these 3 things. And this is 1, you're sharp as a tack. 2, that you're enthusiastic as hell. And 3, that you are an expert in your field. Now, in essence, you need to act as if that you can fulfill the prospect's wants, needs, and dreams. See, at the end of the day, you'll need to convince them that you're worthwhile listening to, and that any problem they have, you have the solution for. Because what you want to be doing is moving your prospect along the line while displaying authority and making sure that they feel certain about the idea or the product that you're trying to convince them of or into. Now, I'll quickly run through all that again for you, just to summarize what we've gone through. And the first part here that I spoke about is that it's called the straight line selling system, because what you'll find is that on one hand, you have the goal of which you're trying to achieve, and on the other hand, you have, the person of which you're trying to convince into that goal. Now, the shortest distance between the initial goal and the end result is a straight line, giving it its name, the straight line selling system. Now, there's 5 core elements to all of this, and I'll run through them as quick as I can. The first one is the 3 10s. Now, this represents the certainty of your prospect on a scale of 1 to 10. So do they believe in what you're trying to convince them of is worth their while, or is it in their best interest? Again, there's 2 types of certainty, logical and emotional. And what you'll find is that you'll have to make an airtight, logical case about your viewpoint or your product, while at the same time also appealing to their emotional connections or their gut feelings. Because what we find is that most people will buy with emotion and justify it later on with logic. Now, the second key element here is you. So you must be able to convince your prospect into trusting and believing in you. Now, if you come across too strong, or if you come across uncertain, you'll find that your prospect will tend to pick up on that and they'll feel as if something is off. Therefore, you're losing their trust. And this ties into our third key element, which is trust. They must feel as if they can trust you or the company that you work for. So if they don't feel that, they tend to not want to listen to what it is that you're going to have to say after the fact. Now, your fourth key element here is what's called the action threshold. Now, this is where you'll probably have to ask for the sale 2 or 3 times before convincing them that it's right. Now, you might find that with some people, they have a lower action threshold. Sorry, guys. And this means that after the first or second time of asking them, they might just say yes, they might just agree with you. Now, this is either to stop you talking or because they actually do genuinely agree with you. Now, the 5th and final key element here is the pain threshold. Now, the pain threshold is one of the most powerful motivators of all time, because people will do anything to avoid pain or anything that might solve one of their current ones. Now, pain creates urgency and it makes for the perfect vehicle when it comes to closing those harder sales. Now, at the end of the day, your goal is to increase your prospect's certainty about your product, yourself, and the company that you're working for, all while lowering their action threshold and increasing their pain threshold. But with all that being said, this could all fail. So you need to take control of the sale, and you've only got about 4 seconds of which to do that in. Now, in the first 4 seconds, you'll find your prospect has either already made a judgment or a decision on you. And you have those 4 seconds in which to establish these 3 things. That A, or 1, you're sharp, 2, you're enthusiastic, and 3, you are an expert in your field. Now, these don't necessarily have to be true, but they have to it has to come across as if you do believe them and that they are true. Because your prospect just needs to believe that these are true. That's it. They don't have to be real, but they have to feel as if they are. Because at the end of the day, in essence, you need to act as if you can fulfill the prospect's wants, needs, and dreams. So anything that they could think up, you need to be able to answer it or give it to them. So you'll probably need to convince them that you're worthwhile listening to, and that if they have a problem, you have the solution. You've got the answer for them. But at the end of the day, what you want to be doing is moving your prospect along the line, all while displaying authority and providing them with certainty, either about the idea or the product that you're trying to convince them into. All right, so now the rest of this book goes into depth about a lot of things, such as body language, statement management, tonality, even prospecting and creating great sales scripts. But that's all I've got time for today, guys. Now, we'll be making a lot more of these videos for this training series to help you with your personal development goals. But until next time, leave a comment below on what you liked the most, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Claire's Clues. Bye, guys!